What if I told you that a 350-year-old debate between two philosophers is actually the key to understanding our biggest 21st century challenge? I'm talking about governing artificial intelligence. Today, we're going to dig into the clash between absolute order and individual liberty, because this battle of ideas is playing out right now in the code and algorithms that are shaping our world.
You know, the incredible boom in AI has put us at a major fork in the road. Is this technology going to be a tool that unlocks human potential that enhances our freedom in ways we can't even imagine? Or is it going to become a new, super efficient form of control, where algorithms quietly nudge our choices and draw the boundaries of our lives? And look, this isn't just some tech question. It goes way deeper. It's about power, it's about control, and it's about what it even means to be free today.
So, to really get a grip on our options for AI, we've got to go back in time. Way back, to an era of total chaos that gave birth to a really powerful and pretty dangerous idea.
Let's start with Thomas Hobbes. He was a philosopher whose pretty radical ideas were forged in the absolute fire of civil war.
You have to picture the world Hobbes was living in. In 1642, the English Civil War kicks off, and society just completely breaks down. It's a time of brutal violence where all authority basically vanishes. So it's really no surprise that in 1651, right in the middle of all this mayhem, he publishes his masterpiece, Leviathan. That whole experience fundamentally shaped his view of humanity, and it led him to a pretty stark conclusion. Without a strong ruler, we just descend into chaos.
So, to prove his point, Hobbes runs this thought experiment. He imagines a state of nature, a world with no government, no laws, no rules. And he argued that in this state, because we're all driven by self-interest, life would just become a war of all against all. The only thing motivating anyone would be the constant fear of the greatest evil, which he called the summum malum, of violent death.
And that leads us to this famous line from his book. It perfectly captures his incredibly bleak vision. And it's not just some catchy phrase, you know? It's his summary of what life is like without a central power to keep everyone in awe. Without that, Hobbes believed there'd be no art, no innovation, no society, nothing but constant, paralyzing fear.
Okay, so if life without a ruler is that terrifying, what's the escape hatch? What was Hobbes's radical solution to get out of this brutish existence?
He came up with something called the social contract, and the logic behind it is actually pretty simple. The problem? That chaotic state of nature. The motivation? Our totally rational desire to not die. So the action we take is to willingly agree to give up some of our natural freedoms to one all-powerful ruler. And the result? In exchange, that ruler gives us the one thing we couldn't get on our own: peace and security.
And this new ruler, this is the Leviathan. Hobbes didn't mean a literal sea monster, of course. He pictured it as an artificial person, a mortal god. The famous cover of his book actually shows this giant king whose body is literally made up of hundreds of tiny little people. It's such a powerful image of a state that's built from the collective will and the surrendered freedom of its citizens.
But as you can imagine, not everyone was sold on this idea of trading away freedom for security. Just a few decades later, another English philosopher, John Locke, came along and offered a powerful counter-argument that would pretty much change the world.
So, where Hobbes saw chaos, John Locke saw reason. He had a completely different take. He believed that even without a government, we're guided by natural laws, and that we're all born with certain rights that can't be taken away: life, liberty, and property. For Locke, government doesn't give us these rights, they exist before government does. So the whole point of a government isn't to control us, it's to protect the rights we already have. The government works for the people, not the other way around.
So it all boils down to this fundamental clash, right? Order versus liberty. For Hobbes, the absolute top priority is order, because the only alternative is that horrible war of all against all. He was totally willing to sacrifice liberty for security. But for Locke, the priority is liberty. That's our natural state, and a government's only job is to protect it. It's this basic tension that still shapes just about every political debate we have today.
Okay, let's fast forward 350 years, right to today, because this old debate is suddenly the most important conversation we can be having about artificial intelligence. Are we building a Hobbesian Leviathan for the digital age, or a Lockean commonwealth?
So let's just break that down. A Hobbesian approach to AI would lean towards strong, centralized government oversight to make sure everything stays stable and to prevent misuse. But a Lockean approach? That would be all about frameworks built on user consent, transparency, and individual control. Or think about data privacy. The Hobbesian view might see our data as a tool for the state to maintain order. The Lockean view sees it as our digital property. It's the difference between an AI that sets limits for the common good and an AI designed to empower you, the individual.
So here we are, faced with this incredible challenge of creating a new social contract for AI. How do we build a system that protects us from the chaos of misinformation and misuse without crushing our individual freedoms under some all-powerful digital ruler? It's a really delicate tightrope walk between unchecked power and total uncontrolled autonomy.
Maybe the answer isn't about choosing one or the other. Maybe it's about blending them. We could have a system with the kind of strong structural oversight that Hobbes argued for to prevent widespread societal harm. But, and this is a big but, that system has to be built on an ironclad foundation of Lockean rights. We need guarantees for our autonomy, our privacy, and our consent. The goal has to be an AI that serves both the collective good and our personal freedom.
So the real takeaway here is that these philosophical battles from the 17th century, they're not just history, they are drawing the exact battle lines for our future in the 21st century. And it all comes down to one final, massive question. In this new digital world we're all building, who gets to write the rules?